Okay, so we're diving into some pretty dark territory today.
Yeah.
The Stranger Beside Me.
Oh, wow.
It's um it's one of those true crime stories that just stays with you.
It's definitely up there. Yeah.
And, we've all heard about Ted Bundy,
Right.
but this book, it's different.
How so?
Well, the author, Anne Rule, she actually knew Bundy.
Really?
Yeah, like personally.
Wow.
They worked together at his suicide prevention hotline, of all places.
I mean, can you imagine?
No, not really. Volunteering with someone
Right.
and then finding out they're, well, one of the most prolific serial killers ever.
Just the betrayal, you know?
Yeah, and that sense of betrayal, it really comes through in the books.
Totally. It's not just like a detached reporting of the facts.
Right. It's deeply personal.
Yeah, she's wrestling with this like, how could someone I thought I knew
Be capable of such awful things.
Exactly.
And it all starts in, like, early 70s Seattle.
Sure.
Rule and Bundy, they're both working at this crisis hotline, a place you'd think would attract, compassionate people.
Right. People who want to help.
Exactly. But what gets me is how Rule describes Bundy back then.
Like before everything came out.
Yeah. Sensitive, intelligent, charismatic.
Classic Bundy.
Not exactly the image that pops into your head when you hear serial killer.
No, not at all. But that was his weapon, that charm.
A total master manipulator.
No, absolutely. He knew how to disarm people, make them trust him. It's scary how effective it was.
And it's chilling because as the book goes on and news reports start mentioning missing young women, Rule starts seeing the similarities to Bundy.
Oh, wow.
But it's almost like she's fighting against that realization.
Like she doesn't want to believe it.
Exactly. She wants to hold on to that image she had of him as a friend, a colleague.
That's what makes the book so powerful. It's that internal conflict, that struggle to reconcile who you think someone is with the truth.
And the truth is, Bundy targeted a very specific type of victim.
Young women.
Attractive. He often lured them by pretending to be injured.
Using his looks to gain their trust.
Yeah, and it was all very calculated.
Definitely. He had a pattern, a method. This wasn't random.
Which is something that I think law enforcement was just starting to understand back then.
Yeah, profiling was still in its early stages.
It makes you wonder, how much Rule's insights into Bundy's personality
Right.
might have helped shape how we understand serial killers today.
That's a good point, because she had this unique perspective.
She wasn't just looking at police reports. She knew him.
Exactly. So she was able to provide insights into his manipulative tactics, the way he used his charm as a weapon.
And what makes it even creepier is that she actually includes excerpts from letters Bundy wrote to her from prison. Like trying to explain himself.
Yeah.
Justify his actions.
It's unsettling, for sure, but it raises all these questions about the nature of evil,
Yeah, like, was he born this way?
Right. Or were there things that happened in his life that made him this way? Could it have been prevented? These are questions that, frankly, still haunt us.
And the story doesn't end with his arrest either. He actually escaped from custody. Twice.
No way!
Yeah. Shows how desperate he was for control. He even acted as his own lawyer during his trial.
Wow. It's like he was putting on a performance.
Exactly. He craved the attention, the spotlight.
It wasn't enough to just commit these horrific acts.
He needed to be the center of it all.
A true narcissist.
Absolutely. And what's also really disturbing is that the book exposes some of the systemic failures back then.
Oh, like what?
Well, law enforcement agencies in different states, they weren't coordinating effectively, which allowed Bundy to continue his spree for far too long.
It's a tragic reminder that sometimes catching a criminal isn't enough.
Right.
We need systems in place to prevent these kinds of things from happening in the first place.
Absolutely. So The Stranger Beside Me, it's more than just a true crime story. It really makes you think about human nature, the masks people wear.
The darkness that can hide beneath the surface.
Yeah. And it reminds us that evil can exist in the most unexpected places.
Even in people we think we know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it leaves you with this question.
What's that?
If you were in Anne Rule's shoes, how would you have reacted?
It's a tough one.
Could you have reconciled the friend you thought you knew with the monster the world saw?
It's something to think about.
It really is.
Definitely.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into,
The Stranger Beside Me.
it's a book that'll stay with you
No doubt about it.
for a long time.
Yeah.